throw your tooth on the roof. Tooth traditions from around the world. Has this ever happened to you? You find a loose tooth in your mouth. Yikes! You can wiggle it with your finger. You can push it back and forth with your tongue. Then, one day, it falls out. There you are with your old baby tooth in your hands and a big hole in your mouth. It happens to everyone, everywhere, all over the world. Look, my tooth fell out. My tooth fell out. But what happens next? What in the world do you do with your tooth? And I just want to give a special shout out to a couple of my kids in my class who just lost teeth. This book is dedicated to Celeste and Tristan, who are working on growing some teeth, who lost their teeth in very unusual ways. Celeste literally lost her tooth, and it went down the drain. That's why we're reading this book today. In North America, in the United States, so it's going to have like little people, little children, and what they do with their tooth when they lose it. I put my tooth under my pillow. While I'm sound asleep, the tooth fairy will come into my room, take my tooth, and leave some money in its place. In Canada, the tradition, at night I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for the tooth fairy. In Mexico, when I go to sleep, I leave my tooth in a box on the bedside table. I hope that El Raton, the magic mouse, will take my tooth and bring me some money. He leaves more money for a front tooth. Native America, Yupik. My mother wraps my tooth in a food like meat or bread. Then I feed it to a female dog and say, "Replace this tooth with a better one." Yellowknife Dene. Something like that is how you say it. I apologize. My mother or grandmother takes my tooth and puts it in a tree, and then my family dances around it. This makes certain that my new tooth will grow in as straight as a tree. Navajo. My mother saves my tooth until my mouth stops hurting. Then we take my tooth to the southeast, away from our house. We bury the tooth on the east side of a healthy young sage bush, rabbit bush, or pinyon tree, because we believe that east is the direction associated with childhood. So those are traditions in North America. This is for Central America and the Caribbean, what happens when those children lose their baby teeth. In Costa Rica, my mother takes my tooth and has it plated with gold and made into an earring for me to wear. In the Dominican Republic, I throw my tooth on the roof of my house so a mouse can come take it away and bring me a better one. Sometimes I get money when I do this. So throwing the tooth on the roof for a mouse. In El Salvador, I put my tooth under my pillow. My father says that during the night, a rabbit will come. It will take my tooth and leave me some money. In Guatemala, I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for El Raton to leave me some money. Remember, El Raton is the rat. In Haiti, I throw my tooth on the roof and I say, "Rat, rat, rat, I give you a beautiful tooth. Send me back an old tooth." I say the opposite of what I really mean to trick the crafty rat into giving me what I really want. There's a rat there. In Jamaica, at night after my tooth falls out, the rolling calf comes rattling chains to take me and my tooth away. I put my tooth in a tin can and shake it hard. The noise keeps the rolling calf away. That's for Central America and the Caribbean. Now we're going over to South America. In Argentina, I put my tooth in a glass of water. During the night, a little mouse called El Ratoncito will come and drink all the water, take my tooth, and leave me some coins or candy in the empty glass. If it was me, I would leave a very large glass, so maybe I would get more things inside of a bigger cup. In Brazil, my mother tells me to throw my tooth outside and say this poem. Lovely birds, dear birds, take away this tooth of mine and bring another one to me. The birds only take clean teeth, so I must brush my teeth every day. I also live in Brazil, but I throw my tooth out of the window onto the roof and say, St. John, take this rotten tooth and give me a healthy one. So there are two different traditions in Brazil. In Colombia, I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for a mouse called El Ratón Miguelito to take my tooth and leave money in its place. So this rat is coming up in a lot of different traditions around the world. In Venezuela, I put my tooth under my pillow. While I am asleep, a mouse will take the tooth and bring me some coins. In Chile, I give my tooth to my mother. She will have it made into a charm set in gold or silver, so I can wear it as a necklace or an earring. Hey, there was somebody else that did the same thing. I think it was over here in Costa Rica. They also would make jewelry, but this one would have to be gold or, and it would only be for an earring. In Chile, it's a little different because it could be in gold or silver. It could be a necklace or an earring. In Africa, mid and southern regions. In Cameroon, I throw my tooth over the roof shouting, take this bad tooth and bring me a new one. Then I hop around my house on one foot and everyone laughs. In Botswana, I throw my tooth on the roof and say, Mr. Moon, please bring me a new tooth. In Mali, I throw my tooth in the chicken coop. The next day, I might find a big fat hen in the coop, and my mother will make chicken soup. You know how she's going to make that chicken soup? Hopefully with the big fat hen after the tooth is lost. In Benin, if I lose an upper tooth, so one of the top teeth, I throw it on the roof. If I lose a lower tooth, I dig a hole and bury it in the ground. My grandmother says that if a lizard sees my tooth, a new one will not grow. So I'm careful to keep it hidden until it's buried, so no lizards can see the tooth. Nigeria. I hold my tooth in my fist with 8 stones to make a total of 9. A girl will hold 6 stones and her tooth to make 7. So boys are different than girls for Nigeria. Next, I close my eyes, say my name out loud, and count to the number in my fist. And say, oh, I want my tooth back. Then I throw them and run away. It is very important to run away. In Uganda, I leave my tooth behind a pot along the path the rats use. The next day, my tooth will be gone, and I will find money in that spot. Some rats are poorer than others. In South Africa, I leave my tooth in a slipper in my room. Tonight a mouse will come, take my tooth, and leave me a gift. My sister's afraid of mice, so she left her slipper outside her door. The mouse left her a present anyway. So in your slipper. And that's for Africa and the mid and southern regions. Here's Africa. It says North Africa and the Middle East. In Egypt, let me just fix this book real quick. All right, so in Egypt, I wrap my tooth in some cotton or a tissue and take it outside. I say, shining sun, take this buffalo's tooth and bring me a bride's tooth. Then I throw the tooth up high at the eye of the sun. The Arabic word for bride is arosa, which means a candy or sweet. In Libya, I throw my tooth at the sun and say, bring me a new tooth. My father tells me that I have a bright smile because my teeth come from the sun. In Morocco, I put my tooth under my pillow when I go to bed. The next morning, I must rise with the sun and throw my tooth toward the sun while I say, I give you a donkey's tooth, and I ask you to replace it with a gazelle's tooth. Otherwise, I might get donkey teeth. I don't think anybody wants donkey teeth. In Mauritania, maybe that's how you say it, my parents tell me to wrap my tooth in a small piece of cloth. and throw it as hard as I can onto the roof of my house. If I get up very early the next morning, I'll find a rooster on the roof, and I can keep him. If I don't wake up early enough, I won't find the rooster. In Lebanon, I throw my tooth into the sea or a field and say, oh son, take the mouse's tooth and give me a gold tooth. In Oman, I face the sun and throw my tooth as far as I can while I say, oh mighty sun, take this tooth, play with it, and do not forget to bring it back. In Turkey, if my parents want me to grow up to graduate from school, they might bury my tooth in the garden of the university. If they hope I will become a doctor, they bury it in the garden of a hospital. Or they could bury it in a soccer field so I will be a good soccer player in Turkey. Here are some countries in Europe. In Greece, I throw my tooth on the roof and wish for luck and make a wish so that my teeth will grow strong and healthy. Another person on the roof. Denmark, I put my tooth under my pillow at night and wait for the tooth fairy called Tandfine to take my tooth and leave me some money. In England, when I go to sleep, I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for the tooth fairy to come. In France, I put my tooth under my pillow. A mouse, la petite cerise, will come to take it and leave a gift for me. In Germany, I don't do anything special with my tooth. In Sweden, I put my tooth in a glass of water. In the morning, my tooth will be gone and a coin will be in the glass. Wait, we saw somebody else that did the same thing. I remember thinking about that glass. That was in Argentina. Let's look back. But Argentina, it says that you could have coins or candy in the empty glass. So that's a little bit different than what Sweden will have. Spain, I tuck my tooth under my pillow. While I am asleep, the little mouse called Ratoncito Perez will take my tooth and leave me money or candy in return. Shout out to Miss Jean in Spain. Eastern Europe and North and Central Asia. So there's a country called Georgia over in Eastern Europe, North and Central Asia. I'm not really sure, but it's not the Georgia of the United States. That's what I need you to know. I throw my tooth high up on the roof of my house, and I say, mouse, mouse, take away my spoiled tooth and send me back a strong, healthy one. This mouse is holding a glove, like he's going to catch that tooth. That's silly. In Kazakhstan, I drop my tooth under the bathtub and say, mouse, mouse, bring me a new tooth, please. We don't have any mice in our apartment, but I do it anyway, under the bathtub. In Kazakhstan, I roll my tooth in bread and give it to an animal, preferably a mouse, because they have healthy, sharp white teeth that grow quickly. If I feed it to a dog, I might get ugly yellow teeth. So feeding it to a mouse is very important in Kazakhstan. In Moldova, I throw my tooth on the roof of the house, and I say, crow, crow, coming from the mill, I am giving you a milk tooth. Now you give me a bone one. There's the crow with the tooth. In Russia, my mother said to put my tooth in a mouse hole in the ground. In Tajikistan, I sow my teeth in the fields, and they grow up to be warriors. In Lithuania, I keep my tooth as a keepsake. Now we're going over to Southern Asia. In Afghanistan, I drop my tooth inside a mouse hole, saying, take my dirty old tooth and give me your small, clean one instead. In Bangladesh, I throw my tooth in a mouse or rat hole and hope the mice will give me back strong white teeth like theirs. I usually get a present when I do this. In India, I throw my tooth on the roof and ask the sparrow to bring me a new one. Over in Nepal, my mother and father say that if a crow or a bird sees or eats my tooth, a new one won't come in. I bury my tooth in the garden and cover it with soil. Or I might cover the tooth with cow dung. You know what cow dung is? It's cow poop. or mud and throw it on the roof so it will be hidden. So imagine that. You're going to put it in the cow poop and possibly throw that onto the roof. Pakistan, I wrap my tooth in cotton. At sunset, I go to the river and throw my tooth in the water. It will bring me good luck. If no river is nearby, I will throw it in a good site, like a garden. In Sri Lanka, I close my eyes and say, "Squirrel, squirrel, take this tooth and give me a new one." Then I throw my tooth on the roof and run into the house without looking. Now we're going to Southeast Asia. In Malaysia, I bury my tooth because it's part of my body and needs to be returned to the earth. In Cambodia, if I lose a lower tooth, I throw it on the roof. If I lose an upper tooth, I put it under the bed. My parents tell me that the new tooth will grow toward the old one and come in straight. In Indonesia, I throw my tooth backwards over the roof. My mother says I must throw it very straight so that my new tooth will grow in straight. In the Philippines, I hide my tooth in a special place and make a wish. A year later, if I can still find my tooth, I can make another wish. In Singapore, I throw my lower teeth straight up to the roof so that my new teeth will also grow straight up. I throw my upper teeth straight down to the ground. If I throw them slanted, my new tooth might grow in slanted. In Thailand, my sisters and brothers tell me to throw my lower tooth on the roof and put my upper tooth under my bed or on the ground. In Vietnam, I throw my lower tooth on the roof and throw my upper tooth under the bed. There are a lot of similarities on these couple of pages with those countries and their traditions with teeth. Now we're going over to East Asia. In China, I put my upper tooth at the foot of my bed and the bottom tooth on the roof. My parents say it will make my new tooth grow in faster. I put my upper tooth on the ground and my lower tooth on the roof. My new tooth will be pulled in the opposite direction and will grow in quickly. In Japan, if I lose an upper tooth, I throw it in the dirt. If I lose a lower tooth, I throw it on the roof. My new tooth will grow towards the old one and come in straight. That sounds very much like the same thing we just said. In Korea, I throw my tooth on the roof and say, "Blackbird, blackbird, my old tooth I give to you. Bring me a new tooth." In Taiwan, I throw my tooth on the roof. Australia and New Zealand, and we're nearing the end of our journey. In the Aboriginal Australians, it says, "My family helps me put my tooth inside the shoot of a pandanus plant, so that when the pandanus grows into a tree, my tooth will grow too. There are spirits in the pandanus leaves that will look after me while my tooth is growing." In Australia, I put my tooth under my pillow and wait for the tooth fairy to take my tooth and bring me some money. New Zealand, and it says Maori. I put my tooth under my pillow. My parents will collect the tooth and give me a small gift. Then they will throw my tooth into the mighty river, the Waikato. My tribe is named after the river. Teeth fall out every day all over the world. What do you do with your tooth? Here are a couple of things. If you want to read over it, I'm going to just pause on this. But maybe you think of something new that you could do with your tooth. I do want to talk about this milk teeth because I had never really heard of that until reading this. It says milk teeth. Because a baby's main food is milk, when these teeth start coming in, that's why sometimes people call them milk teeth. Cool, cool, cool. I hope you take good care of your teeth. This is what people do around the world when they lose a baby tooth.